All right, everybody, welcome back to the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. We are recording on Tuesday, July 19th, 2022. I am Josh, and as every week, I am here joined with Troy. By Troy, with Troy. Troy is here. Hi, Troy.
I am here. I'm ready to go. I'm excited. Lots of awesome content. Where's Kirill?
Yeah, no kidding. So this is our 10th episode. And the day it's published, so tomorrow, will be 2 months, the 2-month anniversary of the podcast. It's like our 2-month wedding anniversary, but except as a podcast.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy because it doesn't feel like 2 months. It feels like it was three days. It's flown by. I can say that. Good time. So must be having fun, right? Time flies when you're having fun.
As your podcast partner, what did you get me for our anniversary?
I have a lot of common cards that I've gotten in breaks that you can have. A lot of SPA for you. What else I got? I got some OPC Platinum. You can have all those common cards, and they are all for you.
Okay, Troy, so before we start today, I do have to ask you one question.
All right.
Are you watching the Hulu show Shoresy?
I am not watching it. I watched Letterkenny, and I saw the preview for Shoresy, and I just haven't found time to sit down and watch it. But the preview was even hilarious because Letterkenny's awesome. Those guys are awesome. Girls are awesome, too. It's fantastic.
Yeah, so Shoresy is a character in Letterkenny, and I think the guy's name is Jared Cleeso.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep, they're all from Canada.
They're all from Canada. Shoresy is a hockey player character from Letterkenny that now they've done a spin-off, so it's all about hockey. It is amazing. I highly recommend everyone check it out. I do have one, I guess, word of caution, though. It is very much a rated R show, so don't let your kids watch it. Lots of foul language, lots of innuendo, but if you want something, I guess, hockey-themed and want to laugh a lot, it's definitely a good show. And Troy, you got to watch it.
Yeah, I will. It's on the list. I got to check it out.
All right. Well, as Troy mentioned, we do have a fantastic show planned, I hope. And to get us started, Troy, why don't you run through the game plan?
Definitely. On today's show, we're going to start with a look at the offseason and what we can expect over the next couple of months in the hockey card world. We will then recap some of the major free agency news and take a look at some interesting movements and values. Then it's off to hobby news, and we do have a couple of interesting items to talk about around some specific cards. Next, Josh and I will take a look at what we consider the Mount Rushmore of left wingers from a performance perspective, but layering in a little value talk as well around some of their cards. We'll then provide an update on a couple of social media channel series we are currently doing. We then will end the show with new product releases or whatever we know about new product releases. And finally, our personal pickups and or sales.
It's getting harder and harder for businesses to stand apart from competitors and get found by new customers. Rapid Review Company is helping businesses improve search engine ranking and build trust with prospective customers by making it easy to get more Google, Facebook, and Nextdoor reviews. You might not know, but over 80% of consumers consult online reviews before purchasing at a local business. Visit rapidreviewcompany.com to schedule a short demo and see if their easy-to-use and cost-effective platform is the right partner to help your business create a steady stream of online reviews. Well, if you haven't heard the news, Troy, it is now officially the off-season.
It is the off-season, and kind of we've talked about, I feel like things are just starting to slow down a little bit. We had a lot of exciting stuff the last couple weeks, but now it feels like it's almost time to take a deep breath.
Yeah, so I guess given that we're entering a slower period in happenings and news coming out of the NHL world, I thought it would be good for us to maybe even level set with each other and our listeners as to what we should expect over the next couple of months before training camps open towards the end of September. First of all, I want to propose that we rename the off season to the buying season. What do you think about that?
That's a good idea, especially for hockey card investors and collectors. You know, this is the time you can really look and find some value because, as we know, in the off season, usually prices kind of trend down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm much more of a buyer than seller typically. And so I actually really look forward to these times where, just like you're saying, right, where much of sports cards sales is driven by hype. And when a player is playing great, or you have a person like Cale Makar who's winning a Stanley Cup, that's going to drive a lot of interest. It's going to drive a lot of sales, people to those secondary marketplaces. But right now, because there's really not much going on in the NHL world, they tend to fall a little bit. And this is where you don't see a lot of big sales or a high volume around this time of year. We also have the National that starts next week. So I think typically what we've observed before the National and up to a week after, sales on like eBay or auction sites will typically be a little bit lower as well. And so it really is a slow week or two. So if you're looking for that card that has maybe been a little higher than you've wanted to spend to this point, I think now within the next couple weeks would be a great time to really try to dig and find those deals.
Yeah, definitely now is the time to look, especially like you said, National coming up, it'll be slow. And then usually I think it's like a week after is kind of the guide after the National too. It might be a little slow. So now's the time to look and see if you are looking for that card. Like Josh said, that's kind of been a little too outside of your budget. Maybe now it's the time it's going to fall back into your budget and you can make a purchase.
So is there anything that you've had your eye on, Troy, that you're going to be looking for over the next month or two before the season cranks back up?
Not really. Yeah, nothing high end where it's on that top of my budget. Most of the stuff I look at, I usually just end up buying it because a lot of it's collecting stuff. And to me, obviously, I don't want to overpay, but I'll just, if the price is reasonable, I'll pay and get it. But there's nothing high end or anything that I'm looking at right now.
Okay, you don't think the Pekka Rinne market's going to get a little soft here in the next few weeks?
I don't know. Pekka Rinne market, I'm probably holding that market up, on my shoulders right now with the purchases. Hint of what will come at the end of this show.
Yeah, you're doing your part. So, the flip side of, like I said, what I like to call buying season is, as a seller, this is where it's going to get a little slow. And I wouldn't have super high expectations probably over the next month. The stuff I do have for sale, I've noticed has slowed down a little bit on eBay. Have you noticed anything similar, Troy?
Yeah, a little bit. I actually had a lot of sales, but it's lower end stuff. So it's stuff that's not expensive or anything. And I don't even have a lot of stuff that's expensive. So I had I had a good pickup of sales, but now the last couple of days I've seen it's just been zero.
If you're a seller, though, or you want to do some trades and you're looking to maximize value of certain cards that you have, I think there could be a couple reasons for optimism this year. And I guess the first one that I would point to is, and I know I've said this a million times already, but I think coming off of the strength of the return to a national TV schedule has really created momentum around the sport. This is totally anecdotal. I don't know how you'd prove this necessarily, but I feel like there is momentum around hockey right now, and that's really exciting. You can look at certain metrics, right? So the TV ratings for the Cup Finals between the Avs and Lightning was up 82% over the year before. So that's a big jump. I think it was something like averaged almost 4.6 million viewers a game, which was a big step up from the previous year. So I think interest in the game is growing. The hockey market's been a little stronger over the last couple months, with the exception of the last few days. And I think as people maybe look at card ladder or indexes or hear from other people that may be bringing some eyeballs over to our little spot or niche in the hobby. I think that probably won't have a significant impact over the next couple months, but it could help ease the pain a little bit as we kind of head into the downtime in the market.
Yeah, it should help ease the pain, but also with that whole Stanley Cup Finals, the ratings overall for the NHL being up, that really gives a nice catalyst going into next season. And hopefully we just keep that trend, that momentum going, which then should spill into the hockey card market and bring in new people, new fans to the game, new collectors. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to see what the indexes are, given I'll take a step back, that the economy doesn't tank or go into a recession or not a big recession. see what happens next hockey season once games start being played.
Yeah, the state of the economy is a negative. It's certainly not going to help. I don't know to what degree it's going to hurt over the next few months. But going, I guess, to point 2 of reasons for optimism, and I think this is a more tangible and even stronger point, is there is a boatload, I'll call it, of releases that need to come out over the next couple months. And that's going to create, I think, a lot of interest from people because some of these releases are real big. And we'll go much more thoroughly in our new release, or through this in our new releases segment. But as I think most people know, right, we're still waiting on OPG Platinum, Allure, Clearcut, Artifacts, Black Diamond for Upper Deck to stay even remotely on track. Between now and the start of next season, the majority of these are going to need to come out. And that's just going to create, I think, more money going into buying wax, doing breaks, and then buying singles on the secondary market.
Yeah, and when those new products come out, I mean, we see the excitement and just the amount of, if you go to a breaking platform like Whatnot, I mean, these people will just sit there and rip the new product and people talk about it. I don't know what part of the hockey card market Whatnot makes up with breaking or breaking overall, but I know it's a driver because when these new products come out, we've seen it with Stature, SPA, it is on there constantly being ripped and talked about.
Yeah, well, there's an ecosystem, right? So the cards have to come out of the box and out of a pack before they can get to eBay or Golden, PWCC, or sold on Instagram, wherever you buy your singles from. And so I think people ordering through distributor Dave & Adams or Blowout or buying boxes at their local card shop, or whether you're breaking, there should be a lot of activity over the next couple months for sure. And that can only help create excitement. Like I said, there has to be 6 new products that come up before the start of the season, right? And that's 2 months away. I mean, how are they? I don't know how they're going to do this.
Yeah.
But if you think about, you have at least 3 or 4 of these come out, that should propel us right to the start of the season, and I think we'll be rolling after that. So long story short, off season is buying season. I'll definitely have a few things that I'm looking out for, but it'll be short and sweet. But I think there should be some good deals out there, especially stuff that where the excitement and energy will be on the new products that are coming out. If you're looking at anything vintage or even rookies or young players from the last couple of years, that's probably where the deals will be. Okay, Troy, you want to run us through some free agency signings and movers and shakers?
Yeah, let's look at the free agency market that's been going on since our last show. You know, the more I see the news come out, I don't know if you feel this way, but the more I really believe this free agency season was kind of or boring. Like, I did not get a lot of excitement on all the news I'm hearing. Obviously, the big one, Johnny Gaudreau signs with the Columbus Blue Jackets. You know, huge 68.25 million, 7 years. What I took from it is that he really wanted out of Calgary because I think Calgary made him an offer. He turned it down. I don't know. I think the money, I can't remember if it was close or even more, but from my perspective, he just wanted gone. He didn't want to be in Calgary anymore. And I'm surprised that Columbus is where he landed. I'm kind of sad he landed there from a hockey card perspective because I think if he goes to a bigger market, there might be more movement. But I'm curious, did you have any thoughts once you saw that news?
Yeah, it was a little strange. You wouldn't expect someone to leave Calgary and not to, I guess, upgrade the market a little bit. And, you know, no disrespect to Columbus fans. As Wild fans, this happens to us all the time. So we get it. I don't know if it's family reasons or whatever it was. It sounds like didn't want to be in Calgary. It is interesting. You know, you would love to have been a fly on the wall in the negotiations or in meetings with his agents to see how the thought process went to selecting the Blue Jackets. But I think the flip side of that, too, is it is kind of cool for a small market team to be able to land the biggest free agent signee as well, right?
Yeah,
we're
definitely.
so used to anyone that hits free agency, you sort of assume that, okay, probably go to Toronto or New York or places that players always tend to go. So from that perspective, I'm really happy for Blue Jackets fans, and they do have a young, nice team. I don't know how big of a difference Gaudreau will make. Do you see him making the playoffs next year, Troy?
I don't, but I don't know. I'm not going to pretend I'm a Blue Jackets an analyst and know a lot about him. I just know right now, if I was a Blue Jackets fan, I'd be pumped. And it's the biggest free agency signing when I went and looked at the Columbus has had. So if I'm a Columbus fan, I'm pretty excited. You know, you landed the number one guy in free agency, even though it was a down free agency market. I think I'd be pretty excited to get Johnny Gaudreau on my team and see what they can do. Looking at his card values, there's not even a lot of excitement in the card values. His PSA 10 Young Guns, there was only a couple sales before free agency started. The PSA 10, it's got a low pop. It's 347. It was right around $220. And if you look after July 13th, there was a couple sales. It trended. There was one for 159, one for 276. What's that tell you? That who knows? It's just a really weird space for those cards, and there doesn't look like there was a lot of movement to me. Looking at his raw Young Guns, you can see a little bit more movement, and you obviously have more sales data to go from. Before the announcement that he signed, it was going anywhere from around $45 on eBay, and I used Card Ladder when I was looking up all these. And on July 14th, after the announcement, sales kind of jumped around the 65 to 80 range. So a pretty nice increase there. I don't think that will last. I think that was just some quick buys, maybe Blue Jackets fans or people jumping in, but I don't see any big catalyst until the season starts to make that move anywhere else.
Yeah, I think had he signed with Toronto or the Rangers or another huge team, we would have seen cards go bananas. And this is just an indication that he did sign with a smaller market. And so I'm sure there's been plenty of Blue Jackets diehards that have gone and bought their Gaudreau cards, but it's just a smaller pool than with the big market teams.
All right, the second one I have is Malkin re-signing with Pittsburgh. Before I even get into this, I'm really glad he did re-sign with Pittsburgh. I can't see him in any other jersey. I like him in Pittsburgh. It seems like that's where he should be. Him and Crosby should always be on the same team. He signed for 4 years, $24.4 million. So I'm glad that he stayed in Pittsburgh. And then looking at card values, his 2006 Young Guns, his PSA 10. Again, it's just a super low pop, 272. Again, it's kind of the same thing. These low pop PSA 10 Young Guns. There's not a lot of sales. Actually, I found one for $715 and another for $1,000 on July 14th. Both of those were card ladder verified, which I know Chris talked about in our interview, but at least it gives you a little more confidence in those. But those two sales are up from a sale on June 30th, which was also card ladder verified, of $475. So 3 data points. Take what you will of it. It's a low pop PSA 10. I put in my notes there's not a lot I can read into it from 3 sales, but you look at his raw sales. And before he re-signed, his raw Young Guns was selling about $190 to $250. And after the signing, it stayed. It was right around that range, which makes sense. It's basically, you take it as he's stayed where he is, and he's going to be a Penguin. So there wasn't a lot of catalyst to make it move.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would have expected.
Yeah, so now you can see kind of the free agency news is kind of getting a little slow and sad. So I'm gonna kind of fly through these last ones. But we had Gaudreau signing with the Senators, 3 years, $19.5 million. Looking at his cards, his 2008 Young Guns, the PSA 10 don't even look at it. It's a really low pop, and it's not even worth the value. It's like $12 to $20, and then after the signing, there was I saw one for like $30. I apologize. That was the Raws. The Raws are around $12 to $20 before, and then when he signed, there was a couple sales around $30. So okay. A little movement there, but nothing exciting. There was no PSA 10 sales. That's what I meant to say. I was looking for those, and it's such a low pop card. There's not going to be any. And then we had Palat signing with the Devils, 5 years, $30 million. It's basically not exciting. It's the same kind of deal. PSA 10, low pop. So his 2013 Young Guns, not a lot to look at. And his Young Guns, before and after the signing, it was right around $15. So there's just not a lot of exciting news coming out of free agency. We had Pacioretty, Darcy Kemper, or Pacioretty went to the Carolina, and then Kemper went with the Capitals, and they're both the same. There's not a lot of information. Those cards their cards don't trade a lot, so there's nothing really to go into. And then from our last show where we kind of went through the list, it looks like still as of now, Kadri, Klingberg, and Bergeron, I believe, still remain unsigned unless something broke in the last hour or two since we've been recording. But none of those three even do anything for me, and it's just kind of flows into that the free agency, besides Gaudreau, has kind of been kind of slow. Obviously, there's been lots of trades here and there, but from what I was looking at from the free agency standpoint, the Gaudreau is the big one.
Yeah, I think when you get to talk about Claude Giroux or Palat or Pacioretty or Kemper, it's going to come down to more how they play next year. And if they get up to I could see if they get up to a hot start on a new team, then we could see some prices go up. But the signing in of itself or the trade in of itself, to me, isn't a market mover.
Yeah, I think I get more interested by Kemper winning a Stanley Cup, and just it seems like no one really gives him any credit. Colorado obviously just kind of wanted to move on, it seemed. So we seen Kemper. He was a goalie for the Wild. And he's just like one of those guys that you feel like he just feels he doesn't get a lot of respect, even though he just won a cup, but it is what it is.
I just think he's a good goalie. He's not a great goalie.
Yeah.
Right? And there's nothing wrong with, I'm sure he'll have a long career, but I wouldn't pick him to, if I had all the goalies in the league to choose from, where would, what number pick would he be for, I don't think he'd be in the top 5. That's for sure. You
equate him to like Trent Dilfer winning the Super Bowl or something?
Something like that, But, hey, he was able to at least turn that cup win into a pretty nice contract with the Capitals and go to a decent team. So good for him.
Yeah.
And we'll just have to see what he does. All right, well, if there's anything else that comes out, I guess, free agent-wise or trade-wise, we'll be sure to keep everyone in the know. But from here, we wanted to go through some hobby news, and there's a number of card-related topics this week that I thought were pretty interesting. First off, I don't know if anyone has seen or heard, but one of the two 1979 Topps Wayne Gretzky rookie PSA 10s is going up for sale at Heritage Auctions in their upcoming Platinum auction, where I believe bidding is set to open August 5th. So they've been pre-promoting it right now. Obviously, this is a pretty big card. I guess you would rate the OPG, of course, over the Topps, but it doesn't get much bigger than this. And Heritage is, I guess, expecting or hoping it goes for over $1 million. And based on some of the last sales, that I don't think that's super unrealistic. It'll be interesting to see, though, where the economy is. And I'm also a little bit curious, Troy. It seems like a weird time to put this card up for sale. Does that seem weird to you too?
It really does. I mean, we just talked about it being kind of the off season, and usually that's when card values go down. But this card being what it is and being worth so much, my assumption is that there's such a small pool of buyers for this card that it really might not matter when it goes for sale.
Yeah, you might be right. I just think that. So what, the NHL or Stanley Cup Finals ended 3 weeks ago, something like that. Given all the excitement and hype around the game at that time, it just seems like it would have made much more sense to sell the card then. Mm-hmm. But like you said, this is a pool we typically don't swim in. So I don't think certainly not going to pretend to understand how the workings of these types of sales work. But it's definitely something we'll keep an eye on. And I'm a little bit bummed that it's not the OPG, if I'm being honest, but that's just me being really picky. Hopefully it does go for a lot of money, though, and finds a good home. Beyond that, I just wanted to highlight, we've seen a couple of big polls floating around, particularly Instagram lately. So out of stature, I know the 1/1 Bobby Orr auto has been pulled. I believe yesterday or the day before, the 1/1 Gretzky patch auto was pulled as well. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other ones that I'm forgetting, number one, or that we haven't seen. And I just think it's worth mentioning, Troy, because what we should see, the effect of this is that the box prices should start to come down a little bit now that we know that some of the biggest cards, at least, are out of contention for getting. And I have noticed a tiny bit. So I checked today, and it looks like 180 is one of the price I'm seeing consistently, down from about 200. So I don't know. I think in the next couple months, my prediction is that prices settle like in the 160, 150 range.
Yeah, that would make sense. Usually you see that in other sports. We've seen it, like obviously the LeBron that got pulled, the 101 triple logo man case prices or the box prices went down right after that. So when these big cards get pulled, usually you see some kind of movement, but we'll see.
Yep, and then the other, I guess, noteworthy card is out of SP Authentic. So the 2021 Kirill Kaprizov Future Watch Auto Patch, 1 of 1. I think we had both seen was pulled a few weeks ago, I believe. The owner of that card has put it up for sale through his, I believe, just through his Instagram account. And he's looking for 40 grand. I guess is his asking price for the card. What do you think of that, Trey? Do you think that's a $40,000 card?
I think that's a tough price to get on a guy that might be in the gulag and we don't know what's going on. So I would not pay 40 grand for that card. Even if everything with Kaprizov was fine and he's coming back, I don't know. It's not in my realm. 40,000 just seems really high to me, but I'm not an expert on super high value cards.
Well, Daniel Jones in football, our Shield patch auto just went for 56,000. So I know crazy. Hockey's not football, but for the love of God, if that card goes for that price, then I hope this guy gets 40,000 for the Kaprizov. I don't know. I think the 20,000 range is probably more realistic, and that might be this guy's strategy. Who knows?
Yeah.
To get the price you want, double the asking price sort of deal. I just thought it's interesting, and I guess shout out to Coach Ko's TikTok because definitely found out about this through there, so wanted to give him credit for that. I also saw on Instagram that the SP Authentic Black Kaprizov Spectrum FX 101 was pulled, so a couple of the two biggest Kaprizov cards. You know, I know that there's still the Future Watch Autos and the inscribed Future Watch that I'm sure not all have been pulled at this point. But just like with Stature, we're starting to see some of the big trophies get knocked down out of these cases and in boxes. So, you know, it'll be interesting to watch SP Authentic pricing over the next couple weeks and month.
Yeah, and I'll say personally that Black Kaprizov, I thought looked absolutely gorgeous. I really wanted that card after seeing that picture of it. It looks really good.
Yeah, I got the googly eyes too. We might have to hunt that owner down and try to work something out. If you guys see any other monster cards that are pulled, we'd appreciate you letting us know. It kind of helps us keep everyone in the know as we track all the new releases coming out over the next few months. All right, Troy, let's do the most American thing ever and talk about the Mount Rushmore of hockey.
I like it.
So we'll apologize to our Canadian listeners and international listeners. Hopefully this isn't too ego American centric around
Go America, Rushmore, America. We're just going to scream America the whole time.
But we honestly thought it would be fun, given that we're in the off season, to be able to take on some of these research projects and debates. And I just want to give the setup first before we get into how we are going to, as the Gongshow podcast, construct the Mount Rushmore of hockey. And the first thing that we decided to do was to initially break it off into position groups. So today we're going to talk about left wings. Why left wings? It's because it's the first thing Troy wrote down.
That's how you do it.
Very, very scientific. And I guess I should say, for those that don't know, there are 4 faces on Mount Rushmore. So we're going to each propose who we think are the 4 left wingers that should be on the Mount Rushmore of left wings. And at the end, the goal here is for Troy and I to come to some sort of an agreement that it's not going to be Troy's list and then Josh's list. It has to be, okay, you've convinced me. I'm going to take this guy off my list and add your guy, or vice versa. And ultimately, we're going to settle on, from our perspective, who are the 4 best left wingers to ever play in the NHL. Anything else? Oh, I guess we should look at the factors that I think are important when considering who should have this very prestigious honor. Where do you think the trophy, these guys will put the trophy we give them?
I don't know. I was thinking about that because this is the end-all, be-all discussion. So whatever we say is set in stone, and I don't think there can be any debate about it.
No, it's binding till the end of time.
unless our listeners want to comment and tell us how, like we said in the first episode, how it is a gong show. And obviously we can be wrong. And with some of my selections, you guys will probably not agree because sometimes I just like a certain player and it's my 4 to start with, and then we'll come to an agreement.
Oh, wow. Okay. When you look at criteria, I think you start obviously with stats, right? That's going to be an important factor. Beyond that, winning is important, right, Troy? You a fan of winning?
I'm a fan of winning, and I'm a fan of Stanley Cups, but that's not the end-all, be-all, but it's a factor.
Okay. Awards and achievements, another factor, I think.
Yes.
And then the last 2 I had were impact to their city and team. That could be an important factor. And relevance within the hockey world and hype around that player.
Yeah, so I struggle with the impact of the city team because some of these players, I just don't know what their impact was, or if I could find a little bit, but maybe I don't know that much. So that's the one factor I struggled with the most.
I think then, like you mentioned a few minutes ago too, but we're going to tie in the hockey cards into these as well. So, I didn't want to base it just on card values because then whoever was a rookie within the last 2 years would be on the Mount Rushmore of hockey, and that's pretty dumb and doesn't make much sense. But we do want to kind of tie in card values. So does all this sound good? You on board with the method and criteria?
Yep, I'm on board, and I like your little blurb there about the hockey card value because it is what it is. A lot of this is just performance-based, but we can still talk about cards and see if there's anything interesting that we found.
So how do you want to do this, Troy? Do you want to go one after another and nominate our 4 players and then discuss the group as a whole, or should you read your list and then I read my list and see where there's crossover and who we need to debate?
I think we should go one by one. So
okay.
I'll look at the notes. I'll go, or actually, I went first last time when we did this. So why don't you go first? And then if I have that person, I will jump in and we can talk.
All right. Well, you're going to give me the softball then? Because to me, the only... Well, there might be a couple sort of obvious choices, but the one slam dunk, no doubt about it, this list has no legitimacy if he's not on it, has to be Alexander Ovechkin. And okay. I mean, spare me the drama. I assume he's on your list.
He is on my list. I was going to try to say some funny quip that, what are you talking about? No, he's on my list. Yeah. He was the first guy I wrote down. Like, didn't even have to think about that one.
So I kind of got lost in Ovechkin research and wrote a bunch of stuff down that definitely want to share. But if you felt the need to make a case for him being in the local or on the face of Mount Rushmore, this would be it. So he won the Calder Trophy as a rookie in 2006. He's a 3-time Hart Trophy winner in 2008, 2009, and 2013. He won the Art Ross in 2008, which is most points in a season. He's a 9 times, Bueller, Rocket Richard Trophy winner for the most goals. A 12-time All-Star. A big one here, he got the Cup in 2018, as we all know, and also took the Conn Smythe Trophy that year as well. He's 20th in career points with 1,410. He potentially has a shot to finish in the top 10 of career points. He would need to get to 1,591 to surpass Phil Esposito to claim the 10th spot. He's third all-time in goals with 780. He's 21 behind Gordie Howe for the number 2 spot. And then the big one, he's 114 goals away from passing 99 for the all-time leader in goals in NHL history. So here's where I want to spend a little bit of time digging into, because this is where I went way into the rabbit hole. Right, so he needs 115 goals to pass Gretzky. He's 36 years old. He did have a 50-goal season last season, but the history, I guess, and Father Time is not on his side, Troy. Only 3 other players 36 or older have scored more than 40 goals in a season. So that would be Teemu Selanne, Brendan Shanahan, and the guy we just mentioned, Phil Esposito. Only one player has scored 40 or more goals at age 37, and that's Johnny Busick. So if you look at, okay, he needs 115 goals, how is he going to get there? You know, he could have a couple, maybe 3 40-goal seasons. That puts him at 39-40 range. But given the history of players at his age, that would be pretty tough, I would think. Or he could kind of do the Yager thing and play for the next 6 years and hopefully limp over the finish line with 20 goals a year for 6 years. And I guess before I get your thoughts on him breaking the Gretzky mark, I guess there's number one is we are in this age, I guess to support the notion that it would happen, is of players playing at an amazing level as they get older, right? You have the whole Tom Brady thing, who never seems, he's like Benjamin Button and gets younger with time. And so I don't know to what extent Ovi takes care of his body or, his health, but at this point, it wouldn't surprise me if he continues to play at a high level. And then I guess last thing before you chime in is, for what it's worth, Gretzky has been very vocal and on the record that he's convinced that Ovi's going to break his goal mark, and he's happy about it. And so I don't know what that means, but I don't know. Just thought it was cool and I throw it in there. So what do you think? Is it going to happen?
I say it will happen if Ovechkin wants it to happen. If he wants to play and break the record, he will do it. I think he takes care of his body. I don't know, but he seems like it seems like he does. And he's got the, I don't know what you want to call it, but he's, the number one goal scorer, but he's on the power play all the time. So he's going to have all those power play opportunities. If he can just keep making that snipe from his little corner at the, side top of the circle, he'll get his goals. And if he wants to go for 6 years to try to do it, I have no doubt he will do it. So I think, yes, he will eventually clip the all-time leading goal scorer if he wants to. I don't. Three's tough, but I will say I don't know. I will say no, but I hope he does. They can't win the Stanley Cup though, because if he celebrates like he did last time they won the cup, I think he's done. At his age, drinking for 7 straight days or whatever it was, every footage of him just celebrating away. But yes, I want him to do it. I hope he does. Ovechkin's been awesome to watch.
Now, I think there's another topic that we need to explore around him potentially breaking the goals mark. And maybe it's more of a question I have for you, but a little bit of a statement and opinion on my side too. But do you think this would represent a seismic shift in the hockey card market? Like, would Ovechkin values go completely insane?
I don't know if they'd go insane, but I think they would take a significant increase, because I think it's been baked in so long that Gretzky's the greatest goal scorer ever. And then if someone could pass him, I think that would be huge. Yeah.
Does it do anything to diminish Gretzky in your mind, or with collectors, or his values if he is surpassed, or were records meant to be broken?
Yeah, the whole records were meant to be broken. Plus, Gretzky's always going to have the points. I don't see that ever being touched. And obviously, you got the whole era comparisons where we can't compare eras. It's a different time, but I don't think it diminishes Gretzky at all.
So I tend to I'm 70-30 that he's going to break it. And I wanted to look at some card values and sort of thinking ahead, right, as to what could potentially happen and when to get on the train. Has the train already left the station? Where is the train? And I think it's pretty apparent that it's already left the station. So I looked at his Young Guns, both PSA 10 and BGS 9.5. So the PSA 10 is a population of 1,034.
Yeah.
It last sold for $5,600. That card is up 33% in the last year and 223% in the last 2 years. And if he unless there's a significant injury or something happens that stops or derails his career, I don't think it's going to go down for a prolonged period of time up until when he breaks the record. So and it is a fairly accessible card at population over 1,000. Right, some of the guys we were talking, like Malkin, has a few hundred. So you should be able to get your hands on this card. It is a little bit bigger investment, of course. But if that's your intention, I guess my advice would be the sooner the better, because I don't think it's going to be 2,500 again anytime soon.
Yeah. Do you think there's any worry that he's a Russian that seems to be buddies with Putin? And do you ever see any of that coming out and kind of hurting him? Or do you think he's smart enough just to stay quiet, play in the game where Putin scores 50 goals and do his thing?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. And it's interesting that you asked that in the way you did, because I was looking at the whole Russian connection from I think I'm the rosy optimist right now. I was thinking maybe he would break the mold or the stereotype of Russian players in setting the mark and kind of get rid of a little bit of that card collecting stigma, I guess, that exists. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously a really uncertain time geopolitically, and it's hard to predict anything in there. I'm changing topics here, but our boy Kaprizov, we haven't heard anything in a week. And so you're right. I mean, that could be a potential pitfall for him. But beyond something like that, I just don't see this card going down. The BGS 9.5 has a little bit higher pop count. Well, actually, a lot. 1,866. So it's 1,034 PSA 10 to 1,866 BGS 9.5. The BGS 9.5 is about half the value of the PSA 10, sold for $2,889 earlier this month. That's up 80% in the past year and 141% in the past 2 years. So again, I think that supports the notion that the train has left the station, and if you're intending to get on, you probably should get on sooner than later.
Yep, for sure.
Okay, so do we agree that one of our 4 spots we can have the stone artists or sculptors or whoever does it start to etch his face into our Mount Rushmore? Okay.
Yeah, we're putting him up there. I think he goes first. We can talk about that, where he goes in the placement on the mountain. But
there's honestly not a legitimate argument as to why he wouldn't. Okay, so who's your next nomination then?
All right, so my next nomination for the Mount Rushmore, I am going with Brendan Shanahan. I'm waiting to see if you have him.
I do. He was my third.
Yeah, well, when I was thinking about this, the first two, Ovechkin and Shanahan, I was pretty sure we would probably have. So to make the case anyways, and get some discussion going around him, and I will be the first to admit, I'm not going to go into a bunch of crazy stats, but there is some, the basic ones we can look at. 656 goals, 698 assists, so over 1,300 points. And one of the crazy stats, I remember this about him, is that he's the only player in NHL history with 600 goals and over 2,000 penalty minutes. And then the really cool...
Yeah, I had that down too.
The really cool stat is 17 Gordie Howe hat tricks, which is just, if you don't know, I'm sure everyone listening to this does, but it's a goal, an assist, and a fight. Even though Gordie Howe, they tried to do research and they could only find really 2 that he had. It's still funny that's called that, and he's got 17 of them. You talk about winning 3 cups, all with Detroit. He's a Hall of Famer, 3-time All-Star, and he also won, and I think this is cool, but he won the Clancy Award for humanitarian work. If you look at his impact, obviously he was the backbone of the Red Wings championship teams in the late 90s. And, I'm going to say a term it's a basketball term, and when you think of like a power forward in hockey, he was, to me, what a power forward is in hockey. He had skill, but man, you go into the corner with him or you're going to, dig for a puck with him, you're going to come out with a bruise because he would pound you and beat on you. So to me, he was just physical specimen that didn't back down from anyone. So I'll let that sink in. So that's kind of the first piece. But then he's still relevant to this day. He's still, just if you want to think about him, he's the president of the Maple Leafs. Before that, I always crack up that he was the director of player safety for the NHL. A guy with over 2,000 penalty minutes, but I guess he was a player and he knows penalties. So I thought that was pretty funny. So all those things lead me. I have him on my Mount Rushmore. Obviously, you do too. I think he was just a fantastic player and a physical player. Like I really liked his physical game.
Yeah, I had much of the same points you did. A couple other maybe little facts and figures are he played an amazing 22 seasons. 9 of the 22 were with the Red Wings. He played also with the Devils, Blues, Whalers, and Rangers. I only said that just to say the Whalers for the record. He's an 8-time All-Star. He's second in career goals for left wingers. So I think that's material and important to
who's number
discussion.
1? Oh.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious. And then from a hobby perspective, so his 1988 OPC rookie PSA 10, population Detroit 38. Last sold for
I have it on my list.
Yeah, $1,350 on May 24th, and it is down a little bit, 23% in the last year, but it's still up 108% over the last 2. So the last year hasn't been kind, but the last couple have been pretty strong. To me, this is pretty horribly undervalued. I understand it's a different time, but I always kind of, when I look at these guys that started their careers in the 70s, 80s, maybe early 90s, and to me, it's hard not to compare them to current guys, right? So, like, think of Kaprizov or Sider. If there was only 2 or 3 different rookie cards, and the premium brand of Kaprizov's rookie was numbered to 38, what would the prices be on that? It'd be crazy.
Yeah, it'd be astronomical. Mm-hmm.
Right, and so to be able to get, like you said, a winner, a guy who had a long and accomplished career, who's still relevant today for $1,300, and a card that is so scarce that you really never have to worry about, again, let's do the Kaprizov comparison. How many months in a row has he been the top hockey card at PSA, and what's that doing to drive down prices? I would think if one of these does come up for sale, that I would be really just shocked at this point if the next, even though it sold for $1,300 just 2 months ago, that just blows my mind, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And even if that PSA 10 is not attainable, I don't know if you looked at the PSA 9s. Again, it's another small population. It's only like 384. And the pricing I found was selling anywhere from $60 to $120. I mean, if you want to get a Hall of Famer, I would take a PSA 9 of him. I mean, that would be, I think that's a good investment, but that's me.
Well, in the world we live in, a raw card's worth more.
Yeah. Maybe I'm the idiot. But I'm actually getting depressed all these little pops, because obviously when we were talking about the free agency stuff, I just was like, yep, and this card there's 12, and this one there's, so I need some bigger pop numbers, but all good points.
Well, I think the ultra modern's taking care of that. Okay, so we both agree on Shanahan. So we have Ovechkin, Shanahan.
Yep.
And then is it my turn?
It's your turn.
The guy I had second on my list is Luc Robitaille. Did you have Luc?
I did not have Luc.
Oh, wow. Very controversial. Okay, well, I'll state the case, and then we'll have to put him in the maybe pile and see who else we agree on or have similarities with. Luc played 19 seasons, mostly for the LA Kings. He's 24th all-time in points with 1,394. He's 13th all-time in goals with 668, so a little bit more of a goal scorer. He's was the first player, and I think when you hear Robitaille mentioned, the key stat that people like to recite is he was the first player to have at least 44 goals in the first 8 years of his career. So obviously a really consistent scorer. He won the Calder Trophy in 1987, of course, as a top rookie. He did win a cup in 2002 with the Red Wings. The hockey writers named him the second greatest Kings player of all time, behind Marcel Dion. And the LA Times ranked him third, and they just put Gretzky one, but that could be debatable and controversial in itself. He's the Kings' all-time leader in goals with 557, and he's second in points with 1,154. So that's my case from a stats-wise. So why was he not on your list? Curious to know.
I was thinking about my list, and I was going through the players, and this is where I get into my final two players. I think they're awesome players. Plus, I liked them better. I did not like Luc Robitaille. He never excited me when I was growing up watching him. I just never got into the Luc Robitaille train. I know he's a good player. I know he's got all these stats. It was just, this one's personal. It's like I just did not get excitement from him, and I never was very interested in him as a player.
All right. Well, that's fair. So again, he has to go in the maybe pile for now. Just to mention hobby-wise real quick, his 1987 OPG rookie PSA 10 pop 119. Again, super low. Last sold for $710 in April of this year. It's up about 1.5% over the past year. But over the past 2 years, it's taken a bigger jump at 106%. So you could have bought this card in November of 2020, Troy, for $340. Not to give advice, but again, he's another guy. Like I would put Shanahan in this category too. With these such low pop counts, if you were looking for a Hall of Fame, all-time great, safe, probably slow-growing investment, if you're a Robitaille fan or a Kings fan, I don't know how you could go wrong from an investment standpoint with 119.
Definitely.
Okay, so Robitaille, maybe pile. That puts the conch back to you, Troy. Who's your next nomination for the Mount Rushmore of left-wingers?
Yeah, my next nomination, and I'm interested to see if you had him or not. I doubt it. I had Paul Kariya.
Dang, I do.
Oh, my God. Well,
I thought that was my curveball.
No, we had three of them. So here's where, see, this is that personal stuff. Now I'm going to say I loved Paul Kariya. I loved Paul Kariya growing up. And part of that I always wondered is, so little off topic, but growing up in Minnesota, Mighty Ducks was filmed here, the movie, the first one. I don't know if there's sequels,
sure,
but it's a good Minnesota thing when you have to find every connection to Minnesota. And so that movie being here maybe just drove my like of the Ducks and all that stuff. But Paul Kariya, I loved Paul Kariya. I thought he was just great. Looking at him from his stats point of view, 402 goals, 587 assists, 989 points, which makes him exactly a point per player game. I think he played 989 games, so he was a point per player game. I always like that as a kind of barometer for those really good players. Now here's the big knock on him, and I know you know what's coming next. No cups. Did make a Stanley Cup final, but they didn't win it. So he's got the no cups on him. Hall of Famer, 5-time All-Star, Lady Byng, 2-time Lady Byng, and then all-rookie team, obviously as a rookie. When I was thinking about Kariya, I had to do a little research on just what his impact and what he meant to the city. And I think the one thing that stood out to me was that 9,000 people attended his first public practice in Anaheim when he signed. to me, that shows how much he was like, the excitement was for the Paul Kariya train. And then you had him for 9 years with Teemu Selanne, and that was a really good duo. That you'll be hard pressed to find for those 9 years in their prime. That's a tough duo to beat. Obviously, there's debate, but it's an extraordinary pair. Obviously, shortened career. He had concussions, forced him to retire. But I remember watching him, and he was skill. He would skate fast, but it didn't even look like he was putting any effort into it. He could handle the puck, quick release. He's one of the best playmakers I've ever seen, and he was just awesome. His speed, he was so fast and so sneaky that looking at him, even though it was a shorter time period than most of these guys, he didn't have a 20-year career. To me, he's definitely on my Mount Rushmore and your Mount Rushmore. So did you have any other? I'm sure you have some cooler stats that.
No. Basically, just what you said. The only other, I think, thing you can mention is much like getting close in the Stanley Cup. He was the runner-up for the Hart Trophy in 1997. But I had basically, and he did win a gold medal for Canada and Salt Lake City in 2002. So at least he won that. But yeah, I mean, it was a amazing career, unfortunately cut short in the last couple of years in dealing with post-concussion syndrome and other things like that, really diminished his ability to produce. But I think anyone that talks about Mighty Ducks history, Teemu Selanne will forever be the all-time greatest player for Anaheim.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see anyone that could put anyone above Paul Kariya for the number 2 spot.
Definitely. When you started talking about Mighty Ducks history, I thought we were going down the movie. I thought we were going to start doing a historical analysis of the movie.
Special episode of the Hockey Cards Gongshow for those that want the Mighty Ducks. I guess like Bill Simmons does the rewatchables. We could do. He's probably already done Mighty Ducks doing better than we could. Okay, so we have actually 3 spots on our Mount Rushmore that are carved in stone, pardon the pun, not pardon the pun. So we have Ovechkin with the bullet. We have Shanahan, and then Paul Kariya. I really thought, Troy, that I was throwing you a curveball there. That surprises me. And then I nominated Robitaille, and that's a to be determined. So who is your 4th?
So my last one, and this one I went way back, or not way back. I was doing the Kid Troy, and just a player that I really liked, and he is one of the top left wingers of all time. We'll debate if he's Mount Rushmore. Maybe I'm trying to talk myself out of him right now. I don't know. But I had Michel Goulet.
Oh, the Nordiques guy, right?
Yeah. So when I watched, when I was a kid watching him play against the North Stars, against the Nordiques, I was such a fan of Michel Goulet. I had his cards. I remember having all his cards. I still got them. I think they're at my parents' house. And I look back, and I'm not 100% sure why I liked him so much. Maybe it was the name. I thought it was always a cool name, Michel Goulet. And then got that French in there. And then also, maybe it's because he played, the North Stars had a player, Dirk Graham, that kind of looked like Michel Goulet. So I've always wondered if that did it. Like, maybe I got him confused or something. But no.
Is he related to Robert Goulet?
I don't know. I hope so, but I don't think he is. But
Wait, who was Robert Goulet again?
He's the singer. He was like a crooner.
No. He was an actor.
Oh, no, singer, actor. I think he sung. I don't know.
He was on a sitcom. Robert Goulet. Benson.
Are you thinking Robert Guillaume?
No, Robert Goulet. Benson, right?
That's Robert Guillaume.
Wonderful. Oh, yeah, Robert Guillaume, Troy. Not Robert Goulet.
Not Goulet.
Okay,
Goulet's Goulet's a white guy. They're different nationalities. So yeah. But anyways, let's get back to Michel Goulet.
All right.
548 goals, 605 assists, so 1,153 points. From 82 to 86, he scored at least 53 goals. He had 4 seasons over 100 points. And now here's another big knock: no cups as a player. He was a 5-time All-Star and a Hall of Fame, but that's it. There's no Hart trophies. There's no scoring leaders, any of that. Just 5-time All-Star, and a Hall of Famer. He was the centerpiece of the kind of the Nordiques teams in the early 80s. Played with the Stastny brothers. Were you big Stastny brother guy or anything?
No, not really. I was
okay.
A pretty casual hockey fan at the time.
Yeah. I kind of like, they would come into town too, but I was the bigger fan of Goulet. This doesn't talk to his player inability, but he did win 2 cups with the Avalanche as a director of player personnel. His game, he was, a really good, he was a sniper.
That's freaking Troy.
I know. I'm trying to give him his
swimmer.
props. Yeah, I'm trying to give him his props. And I even put this in my notes. This is more of an emotional pick. You could argue that, he doesn't have all these credentials, but hey, I am going on emotion. And like I said, I get to pick who I want, and people can tell me I'm dumb, and we've said we don't know everything. We're the Gong Show. So my Michel Goulet pick might be a Gong Show.
But we do have to debate Robitaille and Goulet. And so I have an idea.
Go ahead.
So how many seasons do Goulet play?
Oh, Goulet, I'd have to look it up. I can look it up.
Like 10, 12 maybe, something like that?
Yeah, it's on-air production meeting. So Michel Goulet, he played 15 years.
Okay, Robitaille played 19. Check mark.
Yeah.
Robitaille. And he had how many points?
Longer. So Goulet 1,153.
Really, okay, Robitaille had about 1,400, 1,394. How many goals?
548.
All right, 668 for Robitaille. Robitaille won a cup. Robitaille won the Calder.
Goulet had to use a wooden stick that probably weighed 3 times as much as any stick that Luc Robitaille. He had to deal with inferior equipment.
Well, Robitaille was a rookie in '87. What kind of sticks were they using? Were they?
I think fiber. They were probably just getting into the aluminums back then. I was trying to read. Now that you said that, I was trying to read. We had the aluminums where you had to heat up and put the blade on.
Weapons if they broke.
Yeah, I would like to have a bigger debate, but I feel like, since this was my emotional pick, that I don't have much room to stand on. Besides, he played for Quebec. He was awesome. He had a sweet name, but he was a great.
Their jerseys are cool.
They did have cool jerseys, and if I remember right, I should look this up. I believe the NHL a while ago put out a list. I thought I read something about top wingers, and I can't remember if it was left wingers, but I want to say he was in the top 6 or top 5. Which is kind of crazy to think about after what we just talked about, where he doesn't have that's probably more of, I don't know if that's a writer's thing and an older guy that wrote the article or how they figured it out, but that's kind of interesting too. I mean, I just liked him when I was a kid as a player. He's obviously in the top 10 or top 15 for sure, but probably not on the Mount Rushmore. I can concede that one, even though it hurts, but I can concede that one.
Yeah, I've won this debate just by staring at you and letting you talk yourself out of it.
Little pop count. You want to have fun? Try to find Michel Goulet cards. His 1980 rookie, it's a pop. PSA 10 is like a pop 25. So it sells anywhere $800 to $1,000. But you can get his PSA 9 around, I don't know. It's like 140 to 170. And then the PSA 8 is actually 60 to 100. So if you want to look at those, but yeah, that PSA 10 does not come up often. And it's a 1980 OPG, if I didn't say that.
That's crazy. And so think of my dream comes true, and the size of the hockey card market quadruples in the next 10 years or something like that. These in vintage prices are going to go completely nuts. Because there's 10 of each of them.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of them out there, and I'm always curious, are they just sitting in boxes? Do people have a lot of these cards and just or they were just such bad quality that they're probably just not submitted? I don't know.
Are they grade low, or the grading standards have changed? Who knows what the answer is there? But okay, so we need to settle. Yeah. We need to settle on this. Are you going to concede that? And by the way, that I did look up the NHL.com, and I can't remember exactly, but they had writers and GMs, and they all did a voting system where they tallied points, and Luc Robitaille was number 2 on that list as well.
Okay. I could see if it was GMs, they're probably older guys, so I could see that giving Goulet a good
I think he was definitely in the top 10 from what I remember. Okay, so sorry. Honorable mention. Goulet.
Honorable mention.
It is kind of crazy that I still can't believe we both picked Paul Kariya. I thought for sure that was the one that was going to be different. But so for the official Gong show, which is super important and very meaningful, and I'm sure there will be tears in the Ovechkin, Robitaille, Shanahan, and Kariya families over such an amazing acknowledgement of their career and impact to the game. But that is our Mount Rushmore of left wingers. And we'll probably do a social media post, and I think we'll want to get your feedback, and you all will have no problem telling us why we're dumb or missed somebody obvious or forgot a key point. But I don't know, Troy, I thought that was fun.
Yeah, it's fun, and it's definitely, so it's the risk you take, right? We do not share these lists or even talk about any of that beforehand. This is the first time I've heard his, and I've heard Josh's, and he heard mine. So it's fun doing that and not knowing, but that's the risk we get. We had 3 out of the 4 the same.
Great minds think alike. That's
there we go. I like it.
Thing. Okay, so speaking of our social channels, we don't talk about them a ton other than asking people to follow typically at the end of each episode. But there are a couple of, I guess, larger series or segments, or I don't know what to call them, that we've been doing. And I thought that they would be worth mentioning on the podcast. And they both kind of fit into how we're trying to create some interesting content during the off season. And the first one I'll mention is our 2021-22 hockey card recaps by team. So essentially what we're doing is trying to do one a day, going through team by team, and trying to take at least from a broad brushstroke perspective, look at sort of the biggest sale of anyone from that team within the last year or within the season, to biggest sale from the active player, notable rookies, take a look at who are the notable vets on the team and what their card prices have done over the last year, and then look at some of the legends as well. We've gotten a pretty good response. You'll find this on our Instagram. I guess that's important to mention. So if you're not following us on Instagram, it's at hockey_cards_Gongshow. You can just search Hockey Cards Gongshow in the search bar. And definitely we're getting a lot of feedback, which is great. And part of what we're trying to do is stir some debate around some of these choices that we've been making. And I don't know about you, Troy, but just through the process of these, I'm definitely learning a lot. I think that's the funnest part for me personally. Speaking of rabbit holes, like I talked earlier, when we did the Montreal Canadiens the other day, holy cow, I spent like 2 hours going back to Rocket Richard and legendary players from the franchise and looking at cards from the 1930s and 20s and 50s. And it's just amazing.
Yeah, I've definitely learned a lot from just our users. I think we've gotten really good feedback on those, like in the comments section, people questioning or looking at values, and kind of a good discussion that it's been really good.
Yeah, so the teams we've done so far are Detroit, Philadelphia, Vancouver, St. Louis, Montreal, and today, again, we're recording on the 19th, we published Columbus. And so every day, maybe skip a day here or every now and again, but we'll try to get out once a day, and just wanted to mention it and to look for it on our Instagram. The other thing that we're doing has been, I guess, I don't know if controversial is the word, but it's been a little bit more feedback and debate over, is we're doing a series where we're posting daily videos, opening a pack a day from an OPC hobby box. We're posting all these to our TikTok, Instagram, and other socials. And kind of the main reason why I wanted to bring it up, Troy, is I want to be clear on the purpose of why we're doing this. I think both of us have observed over the past 2 or 3 months, and I think we feel similar, that OPC paper, so we're talking about OPC paper, not platinum, I think traditionally we've seen as a very like entry level, more retail focused. Kind of the more you get into the hobby, sort of the less interested. Doesn't really. It's not like a SP Authentic where you can pull a major card out of, and largely gets disregarded by collectors. Would you agree?
Yeah, you summed up my point very well, because I remember buying OPC as something that my kids would like, and not being very. And this was retail, so going to a Target and then opening it up and be like, "Oh, that's interesting." I think I really had written OPC off as just the OPC base product, as being it's retail. There's nothing interesting in it.
Yeah, totally. I'm on the same page. It's something I completely have disregarded. And again, since we started the podcast over the last 2 or 3 months, we've been watching a ton of box breaks or personal box openings. And both of us have noticed that it seemed like there was a lot of really decent inserts and parallels that were coming out of these hobby boxes. So if you're not familiar, there's OPC Platinum previews, and many of those are numbered, which kind of gets you excited about the Platinum release. But those cards seem to be selling really well in the secondary market. There's 3D inserts, which I think are probably the highest value cards, that were a cider goes for $400, $500, something like that. There's tons of numbered parallels. They've got the playing card variations, which I think are cool. They've got the OPC Premier Tall Boys, retros. There's photo variations. And again, some of I don't think there's probably not a $50,000 card coming out of these boxes.
No.
$20,000 card or $10,000 card even. But some of these have some decent value. When you compare OPC to maybe a higher chase or more exciting chase like SP Authentic, one of the observations we've had about Authentic is if you're opening a box or you're watching a box opening and somebody pulls the Future Watch Auto in the third pack, it's a little anticlimactic beyond that point through the rest of the packs in the box, where from a fun standpoint, these OPC boxes, from what we had viewed, had color and inserts and variations coming out everywhere. And really, I think, kept your attention and anticipation as to what could come next throughout the whole box. And so the theory that we wanted to test was, is it a fun rip? Obviously, it's really cheap. These boxes go from anywhere from about $50 to $60 typically. Right now on eBay with shipping, you can get an OPC hobby box for $50. It's hard to beat that from a price standpoint. And if you did buy one, do you have a reasonable chance to get decent value out of the box? Right? So we're not trying to create a perception that everyone go out and buy 3 cases of OPC and we'll all retire on our yachts and in the French Riviera. Right? Obviously, that's not going to happen. Nope. And there's good boxes, there's bad boxes of any release, right? And so I'm sure there's total dud OPC hobby boxes, and just like there's dud box of anything Series 1, 2, or SP. So that's what we're doing. We're posting a video day each pack. We're posting it to primarily TikTok and Instagram. TikTok, if you're not following us there, would be good, because we're going to be doing some specific content for that social platform. It's the same handle or username at Hockey Cards Gongshow, underscores in between the words, and be out on the lookout for it. The one last point I'll make before I turn it over to you, Troy, is I just want to reiterate, we're talking about being potentially good value, potentially a fun rip, and some decent chases in OPC hobby, not retail. So all the biggest inserts won't be included in the retail SKUs. And so if you see OPC at Target, I mean, do what you want, but that's still something I wouldn't be interested in, and just wanted to reemphasize that we're making the hobby exclusive point.
Definitely, and that's a good point. And I, like you said, just watching boxes be ripped and people are just having fun and getting a lot of color and fun inserts. That's kind of what made this kind of fun to see. Buy a couple boxes and see what gets pulled from the packs. So more to come. Again, it's not investment advice. Do not think we're telling you to go out and spend all your money on OPC hobby boxes. Don't do that. But if you want a fun rip, and hey, you might get something that's pretty cool, go buy some OPG hobby boxes.
And so I think we're through 4 packs. You can see them on TikTok or on Instagram. Pack 3 was pretty amazing. We did pull a 1-of-1 Tim Stutzel retro rookie season review. It's the cyan printing plate. It looks beautiful. And here's an example. Again, you're not going to have a 1-of-1 card in every box or every pack, but it is possible. And going back to our premise where I'd completely written it off, it was pretty awesome to pull that out. And the craziest part, and to give a little teaser, is I don't think it's the most valuable card that came out of that box. So that's something. And there was another card that was pretty big too. This was definitely a hot box, and so it's. We thought it would be fun. Probably don't need to go any more on that.
No.
Let's roll into new product releases. So this is, I guess, my weekly opportunity to try to look into a crystal ball and flip the tarot cards, or I guess, long story short, who knows? We are seeing some hints, though. And I guess to explain this, we'll need to take a tiny step backwards. So one of the things that we've noticed about the release calendars that you'll typically find on whether it's a Blowout or Dave and Adams or Steel City, I don't know, that's where we typically go. Message us if you think there's a more accurate one somewhere. Believe me, we would love to know. But what we've noticed over the last month or so is we had a huge logjam of products that were set to release on the 27th of this month, right? And it was like 6 or 7. So you had Platinum, Allure, Clear Cut, Black Diamond, Artifacts, probably forgetting some. I think Troy and I have been really consistent that we felt there's no way that happens. It makes no sense whatsoever, given the challenges Upper Deck has been having, and whether it be through supply chain issues or COVID, it seemed really unlikely that 6 or 7 products are magically going to be ready on the same day. And then from a business standpoint, I don't think it'd be really smart to flood the market all at once with all these products. And so we were pretty convinced that wasn't going to happen. We did see some shift in the calendars going back, I want to say 4 or 5 days ago now, where a bunch of these products got pushed into August and September, with the exception of 2. So what remained on July 27th was Clear Cut and Black Diamond. And this was consistent across Blowout, Steel City, and Dave and Adams. What's interesting, though, is I think it was yesterday, Troy, so it would have been the 18th, that Steel City moved Black Diamond to August 10th. And so the lone remaining of the NHL releases, they have AHL still in July, but in July is Clear Cut.
Yep.
So to me, that's a decent clue. And it also makes sense, right? Because, and one thing we have to be really clear about Clear Cut, another pun, is Clear Cut is still the 2020-2021.
Yeah.
Right? And Black Diamond is 2021-2022. So Clear Cut is, the years are all jumbling up for you, is Kaprizov, Lafreniere, Robertson et al. And Black Diamond is going to be the Lucas, Raymond, Moritz Seider, Cole Caulfield type class. So I also think not only do we have this clue from Steel City, it does make more sense to release Clear Cut first. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
So if I had to bet, and don't take this to the bank necessarily, but I think that towards the end of this month, I don't know if the 27th is the date, that we could see Clear Cut next. The only other thing I'll mention about Clear Cut is, again, going back to our Instagram, we did publish a preview the other day. So if you're interested in what the design updates or product configurations are like, that would be a good place to check that out. And we'll talk more in depth about Clear Cut as it becomes definitive when the release date will be, but just from a broad perspective, it's a very high risk, high reward product. It's basically pre-sales right now are about $150 a box. It's a 1 card, 1 pack box. Everything is an auto. And honestly, it's just going to come down to the checklist. Now, the checklist has not been published as of this point. So, I mean, that's going to be a huge factor, whether there's value in the box or whether it be through case breaks or random team breaks or just buying singles. The checklist is 100 versus 300. I think that dramatically changes how you go about getting the product. But like I said, I think we'll have more specifics as we get closer to it.
Yeah, I think if you look at the preview we put up, or if you look at the sell sheet, I still have to see one of these twisted tinsel cards in person. Like, I'm staring at it right now, and it looks like it was a fever dream. I don't understand it, but I want to see it because maybe it looks cool with the acetate or however format it is. And I will say, I was not a big fan of acetates or clear cuts until I pulled one. And then I'm like, wow, these are really, really cool. So I'm this product is kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, the only thing I don't get, and this might be my naivete or lack of knowledge, and maybe someone can reach out and school me a little bit, is, and I think you saw this too, Troy, where there's a set or a segment of the set that is like almost like rookie retrospectives, where it would be like a Connor McDavid auto on the 2015 card design. So it would look like a 2015 card. It would be a Connor McDavid auto. So you would almost assume it's a rookie auto, and it's meant to replicate that. It's not is it a reprint? I guess maybe an official reprint. I just think that's weird. I don't know why. If I spent $150 for a box and I got a 2015 card with a Connor McDavid auto, but it wasn't really a Connor McDavid rookie auto, that I would be bummed.
Yeah,
maybe there's something I don't get.
Yeah, I'm looking at it looks like there's like 6 or 7 different years where they do that. The 2015-16, it's the Cup. Then they do 2005-6 Young Guns. I kind of like the canvas autographs, so those look kind of cool with the hand numbering.
Those canvas autographs are sweet.
Yeah, those definitely
look really like
nice.
those. So again, enough on that. We'll go a lot deeper as it becomes more clear, but we just wanted to kind of get out there what we're thinking. We talked to a lot of people. We participate in a lot of breaks. We've noticed a ton of confusion around releases, and we're just going to do our best to try to add clarity where we can. The last thing in new product releases, I briefly mentioned it a few minutes ago, is I'm thinking at the end of this month too, the Upper Deck AHL product will come out. It's a pretty cheap product, I guess similar in price point to OPG Hobby for NHL. Hobby boxes for the AHL product go for around $50. Breakdown is you get 12 star rookies, 1 auto, an exclusive parallel. I'm honestly even not sure what that means. And then another parallel in the box. So admittedly, not typically my thing, but for those that like the minors cards or maybe more prospect cards, that should be coming out near the end of this month as well. Does that interest you at all, Troy? Or?
Not really. It would. So at one point in my life, I lived in Iowa and Des Moines, and right now they have the Iowa Wild. So if I lived in Des Moines still, maybe it probably would interest me a little bit, especially the kids down there. But it's obviously
that's a great point.
Small market though.
All right, that's it for new releases. Troy, why don't you bring us through our favorite part of the show, your personal pickup?
Yeah, I'm just renaming my segment to the Pekka Rinne card collection talk because that's all it seemed to buy. And like I told Josh, I'm pretty sure I have to stop doing this podcast and start my own on Pekka Rinne and his career and his hockey cards because I'm acquiring a good amount from the ones I've already had. So I picked up a 2020-21 Pekka Rinne SP Authentic Gold auto. So it's the black one. It's got the gold signature. I thought it looks cool. And it was a good price. It was on eBay. Obviously, SP just came out. But I'm still glad to see Pekka Rinne because he's obviously retired and he probably won't be in a lot of products going forward, or he might be. Who knows? He might be one of those guys that signs and everything like we've talked about. But that was my only pickup.
Yeah, so other than buying the OPG Hobby Box for our little video series, I didn't buy anything. And it turns out, Troy, that podcasts take a lot of time. And
I'm seeing that, and especially for you, it seems like it takes a lot of time because you put a lot of hours into this, and I feel like I'm putting a lot of hours into it, but I think you're putting more into it.
It's crazy. And so I kind of think I'm becoming more of a hockey card talker than a collector or buyer. So I guess the times now that I'm researching different stuff or prices, whatever it may be, that's time in the past I would be combing eBay and trying to find cards. Yeah. So if anything, maybe it's saving me a little bit of money, but it's hurting my collection a little bit. So I'm going to try to get back on the horse this week, and the OPG Hobby Box was good to me as we've kind of seen already. So that must count. Okay, well, that is the show for the week. Once again, we want to thank everybody for your continued support and listening. We've received a million wonderful messages. The conversation and engagement we've gotten on social channels and in messages has been amazing, and we're super grateful for that. Our goal is to really do a small part in helping to grow the hockey card community and to educate folks a little bit and to create conversation. And so hopefully we're off to a decent start doing that. Thank you again. Have a great week. We will be back next week with hopefully another great show. See you soon.